afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the Ball Media, welcome to all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, sir. The first question will come from Mr. Edgar Tumanda of DYTR. He's the barangay captain of Bini.
Yes, that's Chairman.
Hello. Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon.
Meron yata ang balak si Senator Chis Escudero na mag-imbestiga sa 63 billion budget sa modernization ng forces. Anong comment ko dito?
Well, kasi actually, meron hindi lang si Senator Escudero, si Senator Ejercito actually nag-initiate niya dahil dun sa pagbili ng mga helicopter at mga equipment na sinasabing substandard. Lagi kailangan bantayan talaga kasi napakalaking pera ang pinag-uusapan at lagi talagang kailangan bantayan at marami kuminsan. First of all, importante na kung ano yung modernization fund na i-appropriate ng House at saka ng Senate ay magamit. At importante dahil kailangan ng military na mag-modernize na. At dahan-dahan nakikita natin mag-modernize pero siyempre sa dami ng ating mga nagiging security issues, kailangan bigyan ng pansin yung kanilang modernization. So, siyempre, it's always welcome. Dapat naman meron tayong proseso. Alam niyo naman na ang Congress, Senate and the House, ang aming function is oversight and legislation. So yung oversight function namin, siyempre dapat lagi namin tinitignan yan. Kaya so far, meron kasi mga lumalabas na istorya. Hindi lamang na yung mga nabili na gamit ay hindi yung kailangan. Hindi namin malaman, there are certain how it happened, that kung ano yung specs na hiningi ng AFP, lalo na yung mga ground commanders, ay hindi nasunod. At ang mga binili na gamit ay hindi gano'n. Maalala ninyo sa yung nangyari sa Mama Sapano, nakita naman natin na nagbabarilan na, nagte-text pa yung ating mga tropa. Ay hindi talaga po pwede yan. At kaya naman nagka-problema at wala silang communication sa iba't ibang grupo. So, always yung mga procurement, lagi natin dapat bantayan. And tama yung sinasabi, dahil Committee on Finance si Senator Escudero, malamang siguro baka magkakaroon ng investigasyon sa Senado at the very least. Malamang hindi na malayo susunod ng House of Representatives. So, between the initiatives of Senator J.B. Ejercito at saka ngayon itong panawagan ni Senator Escudero, titignan natin at meron tayong mga napabalitaan na kakulangan sa proseso ng procurement.
Tignan ng business leaders. Nabanggit mo na yung Mama Sapano. As I understand, you are not yet sold out on the facets of this PBL sa Senate. Where are we now as far as the review is concerned?
And how far is
The review of the PBL is concerned.
Well, alam nyo, medyo nahuhuli kami ng Senado dahil ang members ng committee na nagko-conduct ng hearing sa House, 75 members. Ang nagko-conduct lang ng hearing sa Senado, ako lang mag-isa. Kaya medyo hindi sila nakakapagkakalat sila, nagka-cluster sila. Ako nag-iisa ako sa kaya yung trabaho na ginawa ng 75 members, ako lang ang gumagawa. So, but anyway, be that as it may, hindi naman ganun kami nakakalayo. On the 13th and the 14th, we will be in Holo and Zamboanga to conduct hearings. After that, I believe on the 18th, meron na namang hearing sa MNLF. Tapos meron pang isang hearing with the Sultanates and the IPs. And siguro baka kung meron pang isang grupo, baka isa pang hearing. Pero nakaschedule kami, matatapos ang mga hearings sa Senado by the 25th of May. So, ganun ang takbo ngayon. And after that, susulat na namin yung committee report. kung ano man ang mga naging findings ng committee. At sa ngayon ay sinisimula na namin at we actually started it nung recess pa na dahan-dahang sinusulat yung committee report para para maibigay na sa plenary hopefully this session. Hindi ko alam kung mahahabol pero susubukan namin. At para sa akin ang polisiya ko diyan ay siguro dapat din natin tingnan ang tinatawag na so-called deadline na binibigay. Pero mas importante na maging tama ang ipapasa nating version kesa sa sumunod dun sa mga deadline na yon. We cannot rush the BBL. It is very important. It is very complex. And marami pang issue hanggang sa ngayon ay hindi pa maliwanag. Okay? Nandyan yung pinag-usapan, madalas na mapag-usapan yung constitutional issues. Marami pang pinag-usapan tungkol sa political issues, sa mga administrative issues, economic issues. Lahat yan ay kailangan pang pag-usapan. Kahit na nung nag-hearing kami last Tuesday, sa Peace Council, yung Peace Council na binuo ng palasyo. At kahit sila, nakakapagtaka nga dahil ang Peace Council sinasabi dapat ipasa pero maraming kailangan palitan. Pero on the same day, nag-announce ang palasyo na kailangan daw ipasa na hindi pertang kahit na isang salita. Kaya hindi tumutugma ang kanilang mga nagiging pronouncement. Kaya we are aware, ganito na lang, sabihin ko na lang, we are aware that there are those, pero yung mga deadlines na yan are really, walang kinalaman yan with anything. Because they do not constitute, they really have no real meaning in terms of the BBL. I think yung deadlines that are coming out sa BBL are political. Ang pinakamahirap na deadline na ibinigay sa amin ay yung May 2016 para ihalal na yung mga members of parliament. So yun ang pinaka hard deadline na tinatawag. Sa ngayon, we're trying to push it back. So komplikado itong binigay sa amin na draft BBL at maraming issue tungkol dito na hindi lamang sa draft BBL na lumitaw sa mga masapano, lumitaw sa mga diskusyon tungkol sa hindi lamang yung BBL, kundi paano ba talaga ang dapat gawin, tama ba ang ating ginawa para magkaroon ng kapayapaan sa Mindanao. There are fundamental questions that are now being asked that we have to look into because that is our job. Ganun ang legislative, ganun kami mga legislators. So, in terms of scheduling, ganun ang schedule, matatapos kami by the end of, towards the end of May. After which, dadaling ko na sa floor at pagdidebatehan na namin mga senador. So, we will see where it takes us. Sa House siguro, baka mahirap din eh. Kahit na magbotohan, yung sinasabi ng botohan, May 11-12, ang ibig sabihin nun sa committee level yun. Dadalhin pa yun sa plenary. Kasi sponsorin pa the next week, i-sponsorin sa plenary. Pagdidebatehan pa yan. At alam natin maraming debate pa yan. So we'll see kung ano yung magiging schedule. So yun ang more or less ang timetable na nangyayari for the BBL.
Ray Tutas of the Paul Chronicle.
Sir, meron nga po.
Hindi ka kita.
Gusto mo namin malaman, sir, any political plan for the next election? Any position?
Any position. Many. Well, siyempre, pinag-aaralan namin, pinag-iisipan namin. Alam naman ninyo, you are all aware of the political circumstances. Ang problema lang talaga, laging ito, dahil ang favorite sport ng Pilipino ay politika. So, yan lamang ang gustong gawin ng mga tao, pag-usapan, speculate, ganyan-ganyan. Ako sa ngayon, I have to say, kagaya na tanong, yung BBL, yun lang ang aking ginagawa sa ngayon. Well, hindi naman, pero siyempre, malaking bahagi sa akin yung tinatrabaho ngayon is the BBL. But again, when it comes to political plans for 2016, siyempre, malapit na, the time is coming na talagang kailangan ng decision. But until that time has come, I will wait, tinitingnan namin kung ano bang pulso talaga, kung ano ba talaga nangyayari. Titignan, alam naman natin na malaking pagbabago na nangyari sa larangang politika, not only on the administration side but also on the opposition side. So, tignan natin at pagmamasdan natin, pabago-bago ang every week, may bagong survey, iba na naman ang nangyari. Kaya kailangan pag-aralan na mabuti at hindi maliit na bagay itong decision na ito. So, I will continue as I have always been advised to keep my options open.
Rico Videncio of the Bohol Daily News.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How about on the, I think you have already learned about the parang may kasikas na naman sa chat-chat. What can you comment on this?
Well, mayroong mga senador, nag-file ng resolution tungkol na magka-constitutional amendment. Palagay ko hindi aabot dito sa term na ito. Dahil unang-una, naging policy ng Aquino government ay hindi pwedeng mag-tsa-tsa. Ayaw nilang galawin yung present constitution. Sa aking pananaw, kailangan magkaroon ng tsa-tsa. Marami tayong kailangan pag-aralan o balikan at kailangan na pag-usapan. There are many things that we still need to revisit and once again study because many things have changed since 1987. So, I think it would be a good idea. Kaya't there were many proposals na kahit economic provisions lamang muna ang pag-aaralan. But even then, I think there are many others that need to be looked at again. However, as a practical matter, I don't know how it will be done in this term. Ang proposal, isabay na raw yung pagpili ng con delegates sa eleksyon. That's one of the proposals. So, ang mangyayari ngayon, we will have the plebiscite for the BBL. We will have the election of the con delegates and the national and the local elections. At the same time, wala pa yung Smartmatic. So, parang napakahirap. Kaka-appoint lang nung Comelec chairman at yun ang sitwasyon. Sa palagay ko, as a practical matter, yun lamang kakayahan ng Comelec, hindi ba napapag-usapan niya na makapospone ng hangganan, na magmamanual, lahat yun. Of course, hindi pwedeng gawin yun because it's in terms of the electronic counting, nasa batas yan, hindi na natin pwedeng makabalik sa manual. And the dates are a constitutional mandate.
Yes.
So there is no way around that. Kaya't madami ang trabaho ng Comelec para lang just to conduct the national and local elections. Ang dami pang mga dapat gustong gawin. Baka maubusan ng oras. But as a matter of principle, ako sang-ayon ako. Sa palagay ko, dapat talagang magkaroon ulit ng at least some kind, yung constituent, isa na lang sa problema sa constitutional amendment is walang yung mechanism, hindi pa maliwanag eh. The Constituent Assembly. What will the Constituent Assembly consist of? Do both houses vote together or do they vote separately? Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa na-decide yan. There is no enabling law, there is no IRR for the conduct of a constitutional convention. So yun, kailangan pang gawin. So between now and May of next year, because kahit papano, asa na tayo, Mayo na tayo, by the time we approach September, October, lahat na ng politiko, iniisip na yung kampanya. Which is perfectly natural dahil kung matuloy ang schedule, October is already the deadline for filing.
Yes.
Baka ma-push back daw. Kasi kahit ma-push back, sabihin natin Enero, masikip pa rin. So, we still have many things to attend to. Maybe kung magawa, ay kung matuloy, I am in agreement with that and I am supportive of that. But to look at it as a practical matter, I don't think that given the policy of the Aquino administration not to touch the 87 Constitution and the time limits that we have before us, I think everybody, I think you understand it. They have all, there were proposals during the second year of the Aquino term to start the Constitutional Convention. Ayaw. There were proposals by the Speaker na economic provisions. Ayaw pa rin. And I think it is generally the policy of this administration not to amend the Constitution.
Thank you, thank you.
Mike Ligalig, Editor-in-Chief of the Bull Tribune.
Good afternoon po. I would just like to manifest that if you oppose the BBL, then I will support your presidency. I really hate this BBL. Senator, in your heart, do you believe that this Bangsamoro Basic Law will be passed or will be approved within the administration of President Aquino?
I believe that a version of the BBL, not the version that was given us, will be passed by at some point. I know that in the House, there's a lot of campaigning going on. We have been monitoring all of yung pinagmamalaki ngayon ng administrasyon is that SWS survey saying that the people would prefer to continue. Pero kung basahin niyo ng mabuti, ang tanong is not BBL. Do you want to continue the peace process or do you want all-out war? Yun ang naging pagtanong. It's not saying that do you want the BBL. That's why hanggang ngayon, I think the general consensus is ayaw ng tao yung BBL dahil nawalan sila ng tiwala sa MILF, nawalan sila ng tiwala sa peace process dahil sa mga sapalo. So that is something that we will have to work on kung talagang gusto natin magkaroon ng BBL. But as I said earlier, when it comes about the BBL, there are fundamental questions that have arisen. Will the BBL in fact bring peace? Ganun lang kasimple. Kasi sinasabi ng administrasyon, pass the BBL or there'll be war. Totoo ba yun o hindi? That's not, I don't accept that. Na sinasabi, pasan ninyo o magkakagera. Pasan ninyo na hindi nyo pinapalitan o magkakaproblema. I disagree with that. I don't think so. I don't think so. And for them to say that BBL will bring peace, that's not true. BBL might help, but it will not be the one thing that will bring peace. No one thing will bring peace. Marami ang kailangan gawin. What do we do about the MNLF? What do we do about the MNLF's Jakarta Agreement of 1996? Anong nangyari dyan? Then of course there are all the other armed groups. What do we do about them? There are many local concerns. Like sinasabi, yung mga ibang nasama sa plebiscite, magkakaroon ng plebiscite, sabi wala namang MI dito eh. Bakit ngayon may MI ang mamumuno sa amin dito? At many of the armed governors have stated, have taken that position. So we have to be very, very careful. Ang dami nagsasabi, this is the first step to separation from the Republic. May suspecha pa nga, dilipat daw sa Malaysia ang Bangsamoro territory. All of these questions have never been asked by our government. Kaya sinubo itong BBL, hindi pinag-isipan yung mga bagay-bagay na yan. Kaya nasa amin ngayon, ay kailangan namin isipin kung ano yung dapat gawin dun sa mga issue na yan. And again, that's why it has become so complex, and so many issues keep coming up, and so many different problems keep coming up, that to impose a deadline, a deadline, an arbitrary deadline, is not helpful. Dahil kung pipilitin natin matapos ng June, whatever it is, June 10, kasi June 10, kahit June 11 ang last session, last day of this session, ang last session day is Wednesday, June 10. So, kahit pinipilit nila ng June 10, why? What difference will it make? Kailangan hindi pwedeng pilitin kung hindi pa tapos, hindi pa hinog, hindi pa naayos. At hindi sa ngayon, hindi pa talaga naayos. I don't know, I have seen some versions na sa House, pero kahit yung version na ibibigay yata sa House, parang meron pang na-identify na problema. So, it's not that simple. So, I can categorically say this way. The draft BBL that the President gave to the House of Representatives and the Senate will not pass in its present form. It will not pass. Ngayon, what version will finally be given to the House? What version will finally be given to the Senate? Ibang usapan niya. Baka kung talagang maayos na lahat, we will see, it will pass. We have taken the position that we are not constrained by the comprehensive agreement or by the agreement that was done between the MILF and the OPAC. We will do whatever we think needs to be done, whether or not it is within the FAB or the CAB, and we will just have to wait what the different groups how they will react to it. So it's mahirap pa rin itong ating itong BBL na medyo mahihirapan pa rin ito at marami talagang hindi sumasang-ayon. Kaya and then that's why you saw nung pinatay si Usman, kaagad ang palasyo nagpasalamat sa MILF, yung pala pinakay na sarili niya security. So again, hindi valid yung kanilang sinasabi na sila ang pumatay o silang nag-operate. So masyado nang magulo masyado nang magulo dahil nasubo tayo sa alanganin ng pinirmahan yung CAB at saka yung PAF, tapos hindi kinonsulta kahit sino sa gobyerno. The authority to negotiate with armed groups in Mindanao was contained in an executive order. In that executive order, dapat may representative ang House, may representative ang Senado, may representative ang clergy, may representative ang iba't ibang sektor. Hindi natuloy yun. Ang gumawa lamang OPAP at saka MILF, walang kinonsulta kahit sino, kahit local government, kaya naman, nung dumating sa nagulat kami lahat, ano ito? At paano naging ganito ito? Ba't ang gulo-gulo? Bakit maraming problema? So it was ill-conceived and definitely poorly written. So that is the problem that we are facing with now. I know that it is being mentioned, but we are not talking about federalism here. It's an entirely different. Federalism is not. Don't get me wrong. I think federalism is a good system. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I think federalism is a good system because it distributes power centers around the country, and that makes for a more stable political structure. But we are not talking about federalism here in the BBL. I know that many proponents say that this is a first step towards federalism. There is no first step to federalism. You either do it or you do not. You cannot federalize only a certain section, only Mindanao, or only Ilocos, or only hindi pwede yun. If we are going to change the system, we have to change the system for everybody. So that is one of the questions that comes out of PBL. Bakit kayo ganito, bakit kami hindi? Bakit iba? Bakit probinsya ko iba sa treatment yung sa Bangsamoro territory? So, the short answer is, I am in agreement. I think we should study very well federalism. I think that we have sufficient number of examples of countries around the world that have made a success of a federalized system of government. There are many reasons why I think it would be a good development. However, this is something that is very difficult to do, because if you remember, we tried it already before. Meron tayong regional representatives sa Batasan, interim Batasan. It was the the regional representative. That was already our attempt at federalism. So there are again very many good examples why federalism is a more stable and might be a good solution to the challenges that we're facing. But whether or not it will enter into the debate, I don't know. I cannot see how. Again, it will require a constitutional convention or a constituent assembly or an amendment in the constitution. We are, as defined, a unitary republican government. To federalize, we will have to change all of that. There are many practical problems also. Nagawa lang ng tatay ko dahil malakas siya. At nasabi niya, gagawin na natin federalize regional ang ating representation. Pero ngayon, subukan nilang gawin yun, mahirapan na. Isipin ninyo, yung mga governor ninyo, papayag silang hindi na sila governor. O yung isang governor sa tabi nila, yan ang mamumuno sa kanya. All of those things, these are just very practical, again, practical political considerations. As in principle, I think it's certainly something that we should study, and I think maybe if we can find a good version for the Philippines, perhaps we should adopt it. The federal system of government. But in the short term, we will have to try and do something. We will need a constitutional amendment of many, not just one, many constitutional amendments. We will have to redraw the districts. We will have to change the system of election. We will have to change the relationship between the national government and the whatever you call them, regional states or whatever you want to call them. So all of that will have to be redefined. So hindi rin maliit na bagay. But again, luckily, unlike the BBL, which is unique, we have never done it before, and there are few examples in other countries where it has been done. In terms of federalized government, there are many examples where they have been a success. So we can learn from them. But let's hope that the movement gains ground. I think it will. After this term, I think it will gain ground.
R.D. Badoy of the Bohol Tribune.
Thank you, Chito. On behalf of the Bohol Tribune, sir, and of the radio program Open Forum, I'd like to welcome you back to the province.
Thank you very much. Nice to be back once again.
Yes.
Nice to be with all of you.
Thank you. Sir, I am sure many Boholanas supported you in the last elections. And I can say here without any fear of contradiction that my family did support you, considering one of the factors we had. My mother is a Boholana.
Thank you very
But that's only one
Thank you for
of the factors. You are welcome. Sir, what is your impression of the Boholana?
Well, depends. Are you talking to me as a senator?
I would like to...
Are you talking to me as when I was a bachelor? Are you talking to me as an administrator?
Very good,
Well,
sir.
I think, you know, the differences in character of all from the different parts of the country are well understood. And you have to remember that kami kapitbahay lang kami. We are also, yung mga waray-waray are only next door.
Yes.
To you. So I'm very aware of you specifically asked Boholana, i.e. the females, of the female, of the...
There are also Boholanas who are not female, but I am trying to ask you.
Is that so, ma'am?
in general.
Well, I am not, well, that doesn't apply to me, so...
I would like to qualify my statement.
We'll
What is your
dispose it.
impression of the Boholana looking at me? Thank you, sir.
Well, well, exhibits like all the Visayan traits, which is of course the charm and the grace
Wow.
that we have seen from the middle, they say south, but from the middle part of our country. It is something that that is different and distinct from the character traits from other parts of the country. That you know, that is why we used to always tease my father that for being such a GI or genuine Ilocano, he ended up with a Visayan. So I guess he recognized
I never
those.
met your father.
He recognized also the charm and grace that I am talking about.
That will be fully recorded. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Fortunato Ate Cosap of DYRD.
Tungkol sa mga magsasaka itong tanong ko, sir. Magkakaroon ng problema ang ating mga magsasaka kung darating na ang harvest season. Lalong-lalo na kung kunti lang ang kanilang ani. Dahil kailangan pa silang babayad ng ginamit na tubig galing sa irrigation, sa mga irrigation system. Wala pang paraan na malutas ang naturang problema. Bakit kailangan pa silang babayad sa tubig sa national irrigation na funded by the national government? Hindi ba maaaring magpasa tayo ng patas na magbibigay o libreng patubig sa ating mga magsasaka?
ISF, irrigation users.
Tinanong mo sa akin kung bakit dapat magbayad, di ko alam. Para sa akin, hindi dapat magbayad ng dahil servisyo ng gobyerno yan eh.
Pero nagbayad sila, sir.
I know. And tignan mo ang nangyari. It's not practical. Ang utang ng mga farmer sa NIA ngayon na hindi kaya nilang bayaran is 12 billion. Saan nila kukunin yung 12 billion na yun? Sinasabi ko nga sa NIA, kalimutan nyo na yan. Hindi nyo mapapayaran, hindi mapapayaran yung 12 billion na yan. Just forget it. Because it's just not going to happen. Why? Hindi naman sa ayaw magbayad yung mga magsasaka, hindi nila kaya. So there's no point in imposing that fee that they are imposing. But and besides, paano nila pag magkaka-fee? Alam niyo ba na ang irrigated areas sa Pilipinas mas mababa ngayon kaysa sa noong 1986. Imbis na nadagdagan mula noong 1986, pinabayaang masira at hindi inaayos yung mga sira. Kaya hindi ko alam ang sinasabi ng administrasyon na sinasabi lang magkakaroon na tayo ng self-sufficiency. Paano yung self-sufficiency? Mas dumami ang Pilipino, mas nabawasan ang patubig ninyo. Eh, alam naman natin, ang unang-unang importante sa agrikultura ay patubig. Eh wala silang ginagawang patubig. Eh ang nangyari, NIA tinanggalan pa ng budget. Ang hiningi na budget for last year was for 4.5 billion. Tinanggal yung 4 billion, iniwan yung 500 million. Tapos, ang iniiwan na lang na pera na gagamitin nila is for foreign funded projects. At saka nga yan, yung inaasahan nilang 12 billion, na alam naman natin lahat, hindi talaga mababayad. Kahit anong gawin nyo, baliktarin nyo yung magsasaka na ganyan at kunin mo lahat ng mahulog na pera, kulang pa rin yun eh. Wala talaga silang pambayad na ganyan. So it is, in principle, I think it is also wrong. It is important to our own strategic food security that matibay ang agricultural sector. And that is why it is in the national interest. And that is why the NIA should be providing that service because it serves the national interest. Ngayon, bago pa natin itong season na ito, we are in 2015, nandyan na yung ASEAN integration. Sinong unang tatamaan? Magsasaka. Dahil naiwan-iwanan na ang ating mga magsasaka, wala silang suporta, walang R&D, walang credit, kulang ang farm, ang market information. Lahat ng mga ginagawa natin noon para magkaroon ng, para maging mas maganda ang agrikultura natin, tinigil lahat. Kaya ngayon, na iwanan na tayo, yung ini-importan natin, ito yung masakit. Nag-i-import tayo sa Thailand, sa Vietnam. Saan nag-aral yung mga agriculturist nila? Di sila to sa UPLP. Di ba? Tayo sa atin yung International Rice Research Institute, hindi ginagamit. Ang gumagamit yung iba, tayo ngayon ang magbabayad pa sa kanila para bumili ng bigas na inalagaan nila, natutunan nilang gawin sa atin. Yun ang masaklap dyan sa sitwasyon ngayon. And that's why the agricultural sector, it is very clear, the agricultural sector ay napabayaan na. At hindi ko na maunawaan, sa palagay ko, dahil maraming mga kumikita sa importation. Sabihin na natin ang totoo, alam naman natin yung nangyayari. May mga kumikita sa importation, kaya tayo nila itigil yung importation. Kung pagandahin nila naman masyado yung agrikultura, wala na tayong import, wala na silang bubulsahin ng pera ng gobyerno. So that's the situation as I see it. We have to change. It needs fundamental change in that. Magsisimula yan sa as you said, as you point out, sa irrigation, sa patubig. At hanggat maayos yun, wag na tayong umasa o mangarap na magkakaroon tayo ng self-sufficiency. Those are bills of local application, kaya kailangan na hindi kami pwedeng mag-file sa Senado ng sabay. I'm aware of them though, kasi sinabihan nila ako. But we have to wait for it to pass. Kailangan pumasa muna sa House of Representatives bago i-transmit sa Senado. But again, marami namang gumagawa niyan dahil para maging mapailalim na sa public works. Dahil as we all know, yung provincial, municipal, city at saka barangay roads hindi pwedeng galawin ng public works. So, aantayin natin. Tingnan natin kung anong mangyari sa Congress, sa House. At aantayin ko kung anong maging resulta sa House para umabot na sa Senado.
Ray Anthony Chiu of the PIA board. Okay. Mr. Alan Mamang of DYTR.
Do you think it's still possible as a solution to our country, Mr. Senator?
Well, anything is possible. I'll say this much, it's definitely even more necessary now than it was before. The revolution from the center meant that it would not be a violent, necessarily a violent or popular uprising, but it will be a change in the policies of government so that the less privileged and the marginalized and disenfranchised would be included in the services that government provides. That is why there was an attempt, again, to make the government less hierarchical in the sense that the government, to get a decision out of government, that our leaders are in fact closer to the ordinary people. Now, well, whether or not it is possible, as I said, it's always possible, but it will require a great deal of political will. And I'm afraid that the leadership of our country in the past few years has not shown very much political will. And everything is done for political expediency rather than national interest. So with the crop of leaders that we have been seeing, I don't know if they are capable or even desirous or if they even want to do it. Parang kuminsan, ang iniisip lamang nila ay yung susunod na halalan. At hindi nila iniisip kung ano ang ikabubuti ng Pilipinas, ano yung ikabubuti ng mga Pilipino. At that's why many people have said that the problem with the Philippines is too much democracy. I disagree. It's not too much democracy, it's too much politics. Everything is about politics now. Everything. Whether ilalagay yung kalsada mula rito hanggang dyan, depende. Sinong mayor ng bayan ng yan? Siya ba, kasama ba natin o hindi? Kung hindi natin kasama, huwag natin tulungan. Diba? Alam naman ninyo yun eh. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. But that is the problem that we have now. It's too much politics. Politics has its place. We have the political system, we have the political cycle wherein we elect our leadership at different levels. But once that exercise is finished, it should be finished. And that's why we have to we should reward those who perform well rather than those who are politically astute or magugulang sa politika. There is a difference, and we should recognize the first part of that. The first part of that process is an intelligent voter, and that is what we have to continue to espouse. The media has a very important role to play in this. I think that some of the things that have happened in the past years that were actually disastrous for the country were covered up by some parts of the media. And that was, akala ng tao, everything's fine. Hanggang dahan-dahan lumalabas, it's not fine. And so they are not being properly informed. Our voters are not being properly informed. Who is really helping them? At the local level, the responsibility is up to the voters. So it is, and also another part that is another area that plays an important part is education. If we have a well-educated voting population, then they will understand well what the issues are and what the possible solutions are, and they will be able to assess who will bring those solutions. That's not an easy job. That's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that we have to do, and I hope we will start soon.
That political will, I believe, Mr. Senator, you have that. You have that.
Well, I try to. Again, simply because it's the recognition that you cannot conduct policy through politics, which is what we are doing now. Policy is being decided by political expediency, not by national interest.
Alam naman natin na 90 plus yung mga Pilipina natin na bumitahe sa ibang bansa. Kasi kung sila makasala sa atin, deport lang sa ating bansa. Thank you.
Well, ako ngayon, dahil nga dito sa nangyari, dun sa kaso ni Veloso sa Indonesia, ay nakita natin na marami pang kakulangan ang ating DOLE at saka yung ang mga namamahala sa overseas workers. At kailangan natin balikan din natin yung dati, yung illegal recruiters, balikan din natin yung mga kagaya ng sinasabi na ginagawang mule yung ating mga workers, iniipit-ipit hanggang hindi wala namang alam. At sila naman kung saan lang pinapadala na napapasubo nga sa ganitong klaseng trabaho. So that is something that's why I have asked a re-examination of the policy that we have. Matagal na namin tinatrabaho ito yung sa against human trafficking. Kamuntik na tayo ilagay sa level 3, ibig sabihin yung hindi tayo tumutulong na kontrahin yung human trafficking at hindi natin hinahabol ang mga traffickers. Ang traffickers, iba yan sa illegal recruiter. But both are victimizing our OFWs. Tapos siguro sa kabilang panig naman ay kailangan natin patibayin at pagandahin ang kakayahan ng ating DFA. Kapag nagka-problema na magkaroon tayo ng sistema at saka pondo para matulungan naman ang ating mga OFW. Kasi kung minsan Ang kulang lang nila is legal representation. Wala silang magaling na abogado. Dahil mahal naman ang magaling na abogado. Ang DFA walang budget para dyan. Kaya si Veloso, public defender ang kinuha niya, ang binigay sa kanya. Wala tayong dinapitan na abogado ng Pilipinas. Mabuti na lang na naging ganyan ang resulta. Alam naman natin mga naging development at nagbago yung kaso niya, kaya nagkaroon siya ng stay. But ang sabi pa rin ng Indonesia, yung statement nila, itutuloy daw pa rin ang sentensya sa kanya at a more appropriate time, yun ang kanilang wording. So, yun, we have to do both sides there are several sides, but one side is that yung mga nambibiktima sa ating mga gustong magtrabaho sa abroad ay kailangan bantayan natin ng mabuti at pagka meron tayong nakikitang pagkakamali o pagkukulang o labag sa batas, kailangan habulin na natin sila ng gusto. Pangalawa, pagka nagka-problema na, dapat patibayin natin ang kakayahan ng DFA para tulungan ang mga nagkakaroon ng problema sa abroad. That's things that we have to do. We have to go.
Okay na po.
Okay, thank you, Senator Ferdinand Marcos, for this opportunity.
Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat. Thank you very much.